Am I the asshole for literally showing my dad how he behaves every day when he gets home from work? My F-16 father M46 is the breadwinner, while mom is a som. She handles everything around the house like cooking, mopping, washing, laundry, etc. I'm the oldest and I try to help, but really there's only so much I can do while my dad just gets home at the end of the day and literally complains about everything. Like how the carpet isn't clean or how the food is cold. As a result, I'd have to listen to a huge argument daily between him and mom. It's exhausting, but honestly, I think that my dad is in the wrong here. I tried talking to him to get him to see how his behavior is, but to no avail. So what I did was pick a day off for him and pretend to act like him. I put together an outfit that looked like a suit and put black tape over my lips to look like a mustache. At 6 p.m., I went inside the house. Shouted, "I'm home." Then sat next to him in the living room and started kicking my shoes while complaining about the state of the house at the top of my lungs. He glanced at me confused, asking what I was doing. I ignored him, then started yelling about the carpet being dirty, shower not ready, the kids needing to be quiet, and so on. He kept staring while mom and my siblings laughed. My youngest brother kept pointing towards me saying, "This is daddy." I then proceeded to yell about dinner, then berated my mom for not preparing oot before time. My dad stopped me and in a serious tone asked what I was doing. I turned to him and said, "What? Can't a man effing rest after working long hours?" in the most macho voice I could muster. My dad got the hint because this was the common phrase he uses daily. He went quiet and avoided looking at me. I stopped the act and told him I was trying to show him what he's like every day when he comes home from work. He said nothing, just went outside and refused to speak to me. Later he went on about how I mocked and invalidated him. That he does work hard and me doing this was disrespectful and invalidating. Mom said it was funny, but also thought I hurt my dad's feelings and I could have gotten the message across some other way instead. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You held up a mirror to his behavior, and he didn't like what he saw. That's on him. I hope he gets the message. I am going to go with not the asshole. This is genius. He didn't hear your words or your mom's words the many times you both told him the issues. Instead, you made him watch himself, and people don't like when a mirror is held up to their actions. As well, you are 16, and it is not your job to help regulate your parents' emotions. If your dad feels bad, that is on him. Your other methods fell on deaf ears. This one appeared to hit home. Good for you, Op. This is absolutely hilarious and well-deserved, and sometimes people need to see how they're behaving reflected back at them to truly understand. Good job. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for refusing to take my daughter to my ex-husband's wedding? My 42F ex-husband, 45M, and I were together for 20 years. We had a beautiful daughter together, Jocelyn, 14F. We got a divorce 5 years ago due to infidelity on his part. I was devastated. He was the love of my life and he betrayed all of the trust and loyalty we had built up. To make matters worse, he ended up in a relationship with the woman he cheated on me with. They got engaged 1 year later and are set to be married in 2 weeks. Honestly, I still am heartbroken over my divorce. It's hurtful to me that we were together for 20 years, and he could just go fall in love with someone else, as if I was nothing. However, Jocelyn was only 9 when we divorced, and he's a great father, so I would never want to come in between their bond. Jocelyn loves his fiancée as she's very sweet to her, but she doesn't know the reason why her dad and I divorced. I want to tell her when she's a bit older and he doesn't want to tell her at all. Anyways, I compromised with him that Jocelyn could come to the wedding, but that he would have to provide the transportation to and from the wedding, as I want no part of it. I don't want to drop my daughter off at his wedding. I don't want to see all the decorations and the happy guests, it'd just be too much for me. I didn't tell him all of that obviously, but he agreed. Today he calls me and asks if he can ask for a huge favor. It turns out that his future in-laws are flying in the morning of the wedding, and he has to go pick them up. Therefore he can't pick up my daughter the day of and wanted to ask if I could take her. I said absolutely not and asked why he can't pick her up the day before when she gets off of school. He said he doesn't want to make the drive twice, and that he will likely not have time as he has to prepare for the rehearsal dinner. I asked why can't the bride pick up her parents. He said she'll be getting her hair done and won't be able to. I laughed and told him there was no way I'd take my daughter, and that he'd have to figure it out. Boy, why did I say that? My daughter ran downstairs crying, face beet red 10 minutes after my conversation with her dad. calling me terrible and accusing me of not wanting her to spend time with her dad. I told her that's not the case and she demanded to know why I couldn't take her. I couldn't give her an answer and she ran upstairs crying. Now I'm getting messages from his family calling me heartless and cold and a bitch for trying to ruin his special day over a relationship that is long over. My family understands my point of view. But I feel terrible that I've upset my daughter. I don't know what to do. Am I the asshole? Should I just put aside my feelings and take her? Not the asshole, but I also think your daughter is old enough to know the truth about her father, otherwise you will be the bad guy going forward. Co-parenting doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice well-defined boundaries. Not the asshole. He couldn't find any trustable adult to pick his daughter up? There must be someone? An uncle? Grandma? No one? Seriously? Not the asshole? Not the asshole, but 14 is old enough to understand cheating. I would tell darling daughter that while I love her and I love that she has a good relationship with her dad and her future stepmom, I can't handle seeing their wedding when they started dating while dad and I were still married. Then I would ask her if she has any ideas as to how she can be at the wedding without me having to see it. Sometimes teenagers are incredible out-of-the-box thinkers. Am I the asshole for calling my friend irresponsible for what she did while babysitting my child? I, F29, have a phobia of horses. I put phobia in quotation marks because phobias are irrational fears, and I don't think my fear is irrational, but everyone else in my life keeps calling it a phobia. I do like animals, but horses are just not it for me. I don't like being around them, and I have no interest in petting them or riding them. When I was around 8 years old, a horse attacked me unprovoked and nearly killed me, and I was hospitalized. My best friend Eliza, F29, is the opposite to me. When we were in high school, she was your stereotypical horse girl. She owns some horses of her own now and is still obsessed with horses. I don't interact with Eliza's horses and never have. I respect that we can have our own interests, and Eliza and I have different things to talk about. I have a daughter Tanya, F4, and Eliza occasionally kindly volunteers to babysit for me. Eliza has her own daughter of similar age and they play together nicely. Last week, I asked Eliza to babysit for me so me and my partner could go to my cousin's child-free wedding, and she agreed. I paid Eliza to babysit and gave her some extra money to get herself and the girls takeout. Well, when after I picked Tanya up and was driving home, Tanya was telling me about how she sat on a horsey. At first I thought Tanya was talking about a toy rocking horse, but then she told me about how she fed the horsey some apples. When I got home, I called Eliza and asked if she had my daughter interact with her horses. At first Eliza denied everything and said she didn't know what I was talking about, but when I said Tanya told me about it, Eliza admitted she held Tanya whilst she was sat on one of her horses, and let Tanya help feed one of her horses. Eliza went on and on about how safe it is, and that she was in complete control of the situation. That the horse was standing completely still when she held Tanya on the horse's back. I told Eliza that what she did was irresponsible and that doing it behind my back was unacceptable. I was so angry and uncomfortable. She said that I'm overreacting because of my phobia and said that Tanya was completely safe, and went on about how well trained her horses are and how she knows so much about horses. I said I didn't care and that she should think about what she did. My family thinks I overreacted and that I should apologize to Eliza. That I'm projecting my phobia onto my daughter. Am I the asshole? ETA. Eliza never wears a helmet when riding her horses, so I highly doubt she put one on my daughter. I don't think she even owns any helmets. I would have been okay with Tanya feeding, petting the horses, but Eliza putting her on a horse's back made me very uncomfortable. ETA. Eliza keeps her horses in a field that's around an hour drive from her actual home, so I didn't think she'd take my daughter there. Not the asshole. I'm confused by these YTA responses. She took your child to an activity without discussing with you first. That is the main issue here. In addition to that, she lied about it. There's a level of trust that was broken here and it's being blamed on OP's phobia. She lied to you about what she did with your child. She broke your trust and doesn't see the issue with her actions. Projecting your phobia onto your child is one of the worst things you can do for your child. Working on your mental health to get to that point needs to be a priority. Banning your daughter from horses isn't helping anyone. Her learning how to be around them safely is beneficial. But lying to you was wrong. You need to be able to trust the person caring for your child, and she broke that trust. Not the asshole. Even if you had no phobia, she should have asked you, the parent, Permission before being near any horse, or any large animal. Am I the asshole for letting my pregnant coworker get in trouble? Throwaway account. I'll try to keep it all as brief as possible. English isn't my first language, so I apologize if there's any mistakes. F24, work an office job. I have a county worker, Anne, F28. Anne is currently pregnant, and is around 6 months pregnant. We have a dedicated break room where we go for lunch, as we aren't allowed to eat anything or drink anything except water bottles in the office because of the computers. We all have our own break schedules that are the same every day. Anne and I go to break together. Our lunch break is from 13:30 to 14:30. No one else is on this schedule, and take their breaks earlier or later. In the break room, there's a few chairs and a couple of couches. Over the past 2 weeks, Anne had started taking naps on one of the couches during her lunch break. I know it's not my business as to what she does on her break, she can do what she wants. Last Friday, Anne and I were taking our breaks as usual. I was listening to music on my headphones, and when it was around 14:30, I got up to go back to work. I didn't really pay attention to what Anne was doing. Everyone was confused and was saying, "Where's Anne?" by around 1500 because they needed her, and our boss went into the break room and Anne was still sleeping. Anne got a warning from our boss. Anne is now angry with me, because our breaks end at the same time, so I should have woken her up. She said I'm selfish and careless. A lot of our other coworkers are on Anne's side and agree. I told Anne if she can't wake up, she shouldn't sleep during her break. She said the baby makes her tired and accused me of calling her lazy and being insensitive. Edit to add on. When my break was ending, I was scrolling on my phone and listening to music. I have ADHD. When I do these things, I'm quite oblivious to my surroundings. I didn't not wake Anne up because of malice. If Anne had asked me to wake her up, I would have done so. Edit. At our workplace we can't just leave our workstations. If I left to go look for Anne after getting back to work, I would have gotten in trouble. Our boss was already looking for Anne because some of our coworkers needed her for something. Not the asshole, she could have easily set an alarm or could have even simply asked you to wake her up when break is over. Technically not the asshole, I guess, because you're not obligated to wake her up, but dude, it would have been so easy and cost you literally nothing to do it. I think you've completely underestimated the value that comes from keeping good relationships with your coworkers. Work life is a whole lot easier when you have coworkers willing to cover for you if you're 10 milliones late or help you out when you're snowed under. You didn't have Anne's back, which is your choice to make, but in doing so you have virtually guaranteed that neither she or any of the others who see her side will do anything to help you. Not the asshole. It would be different if she asked you to wake her up first, but she didn't. Having a baby, being pregnant, isn't a free pass for placing your responsibilities on others.